We're gonna switch gears to the NBA.
Oh, I
Free
can't wait for this.
free agency is right around the corner. I believe free agency opens up maybe in a week or so.
Yes.
So we
I'll let you
gotta
start.
we gotta address the elephant in the room. For the people who don't know, I've been a Celtics fan since Kenny Anderson was the point guard, years before the Big Three era. So
So you want to start with the Boston Celtics?
Boston Celtics
Okay.
and the Warriors.
Okay.
So first and foremost, we lost to the better team. We lost to the better team. I got no complaints. I'm not going to sit up here and blame the referees. I'm not going to blame the physicality. The Warriors are a dynastic team, and they showed it. So I got to tip my do-rag. I don't have a hat because my hair is jacked up, but I got to tip my do-rag to the Warriors.
Gotta go natural, man.
Yeah.
You see, I'm doing it.
Draymond Green, new media, Steph Curry, Wiggins, I got to tip my hat to you guys. No salt. You guys were the better team. You won. Shout out to the Warriors. Shout out to the GM. Shout out to Coach Kerr and their fans, man. You guys did it. Now, on to the Celtics as we approach free agency. I don't want to say I was salty. Obviously, as a diehard Celtic fan, we at least wanted to see a Game 7, but they ran out of gas. They lost. So there's obviously some moves that us Celtic fans want to see in free agency, as we alluded to on the last podcast, because I believe you brought it up. You said a lot of teams in the East are gearing up. They're looking at Boston saying, hey, Milwaukee Bucks, we were in the Game 7 with you guys. Maybe if we win, we go to the finals. Same thing with the Miami Heat. We took you guys to a Game 7, so I don't think multitude of teams on the East Coast are going to stay pat and just watch the Celtics get back to the finals next year. The Celtics have been under the luxury tax for 3 years in a row, probably longer. So I'm going to go through some moves and some situations with the Boston Celtics that I, as a fan, would like to see happen.
Okay, I was going to ask you that.
There's no right or wrong answer. I know, like, if you look at Celtic media on Twitter or on YouTube, there's 100 takes, and I'll just say there's no right or wrong answer.
Before you start, what I want to ask you and come back to your comment, what do you think that the Celtics need to add to either prepare for what's coming next season or to, if they think that they can get back with the same talent and the same thing, what do they need to bring on to get so that when they get to the finals, unlike Phoenix, add that piece on so they can get to the finals and win it?
Okay, so I believe that what I said in the last week when we talked, I believe their championship window will stay open as long as they can keep the defense intact, which I alluded to. To go straight into it, I'm going to answer your question, but it's going to be layered. I can't just say trade this piece or trade that piece. So, first and foremost, keep the core intact.
Yeah.
Keep Marcus Smart, keep Robert Williams, keep Al Horford, keep Jalen, keep Tatum. What they need to do is solidify the bench, because what happened was they ran out of gas in the finals. And I'm not going to rag on anybody. A lot of those guys, it was the first time in a deep playoff run. Peyton Pritchard has never been in a playoff run, a deep playoff run, I'm sorry. Neither has Grant Williams. Neither, maybe Derek White. I have to go back and do my research on him with the Spurs, but I don't think so. So they get to the finals. It was the first time. Going forward, you want to get either to the Eastern Conference Finals in the next 2 years or the finals period. They have to strengthen their bench so the second half of the season, they can rest players. And by rest players, I don't mean telling players they can miss games, but for example, Al Horford is 36 years old.
Yeah.
If he's starting next year in the second half of the season, do you really want to still tell him you got to play 36 minutes a night before the playoffs? Or do you want to say, we brought in this piece on the bench. This is the second half of the season. These last 3 months, if you were playing 32 minutes, we want to cut that down to about 25 minutes to give you the proper rest. So when we get to the playoffs, you're a little bit more fresh. So I'm going to go over some moves. The Celtics have 2 TPEs, which is a trade player exception. And I believe when you use these, they kind of don't count against the cap. So it's kind of weird. There's way more people more educated on that TPE stuff than me.
Right.
So they have a $17 million TPE from when they traded Evan, I want to say his last name is Fournier, to the Knicks. On this blog that I'm reading by Barstool Sports, a person who written this article listed a few names. Mm-hmm. Marcus Morris, $16 million. Malik Beasley, $15 million. Kevin Huerter from the Atlanta Hawks, $14 million. Luke Kennard, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, $14 million. Jordan Clarkson, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Kelly Oubre, Terrence Ross, Rashard Holmes, Alec Burke, Lyric Nance, Nerlens Knowles, and a few other players. Mm-hmm. So if out of those list of names that I gave you, my personal pick, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm going to go through and see who's going to strengthen our bench, but also help us get rebounding, help us scoring, defense, and etc. The one player that I would like to see from those list of names that I named, and it's going to shock some people, but it's Kyle Kuzma.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. Mm-hmm. Kyle Kuzma, first we got to give him his respect because he won an NBA championship.
Right.
2, with the salary, he's on a team-friendly deal. The next 2 years of his contract is $13 million. So that $17 million TPE fits into that.
Right.
Now, I think you still have to trade a player so you don't hit the tax or however that works, but he fits within that TPE. Second thing, he's 6'10".
Okay.
So you know who that helps? It helps Al Horford. It helps Robert Williams. Mm. It also helps other forwards because he doesn't just play the power forward position. He can slide over and play small forward. So it helps Jason Tatum. How does it help him? What I just said before. The second half of the season, you want to start cutting back on minutes so these guys, when they get in the playoffs, they're fresh as possible. I want to bring up a point. Do people remember when Giannis won the MVP that year? Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
You know what was so significant about those video game numbers he was putting up? When he would score 42 points, 18 rebounds, 9 assists, 5 blocks. He was doing that within like 32 minutes. There was a lot of games where he was putting up those numbers in 30 minutes and then sitting his butt on the bench, getting rest. That's what you want for Jason Tatum. I'm not saying sit them down and tell them to miss on a back-to-back night. I'm saying it's February. You got 2 months before the playoffs. We don't want nobody twisting their ankle. We're going to cut your minutes down to your minutes down. Kyle Kuzma, he started on the Lakers at one point.
Right.
He was playing alongside of LeBron. And then when LeBron went injured, there was a couple of games we saw him going off for 25 and 30 points.
Yeah.
Him coming off the bench for 15 to 20 minutes or 25 minutes, I have no doubt in my mind he can help the offensive rebounding for second chance points. He can play defense on multiple positions, and he can provide you with a scoring spark. That would be one player that fits multiple needs. Let me see. Obviously, there's talk about adding a point guard or adding wing depth.
I was just about to ask you, because being that you're the basketball guy, they were talking about that. They said they need to get the ball out of Marcus Smart's hands, not because he's bad, but he's doing too much. So it's becoming a liability.
I don't want to go that far because then the Celtic media will be in a frenzy. You don't need to get the ball out of his hands as per se. Okay. So when you're running the offense, what I saw deep in the playoff runs was at the top of the key, Jason Tatum will go ISO and run the offense to try to get them shots. Mm-hmm. You want Marcus Smart to run the offense, win, lose, or draw, to get Jalen, Al Horford, and other shots. But the problem is when he goes to the bench, because, he's human. He needs a rest. So when he goes to the bench, your second guy right now is Derek White, which he played good in the regular season. He even had some good playoff moments, but we saw him in the finals. Can you upgrade that just in case, whether you want to keep Derek White or not keep Derek White? So there's names out there, maybe not in a free agency, but like on the trade block that they want to leave or you can easily trade. I want to say one name as a guard that's underrated is Tyus Jones from the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies are coming into their own. They got their squad, and I think he's either a free agent or something with his contract. But my picks, go get a Kyle Kuzma. If you can't get a Kyle Kuzma, get somebody like him. And for guard, get a Tyus Jones. You strengthen that bench. Then you specifically use those players, not just in the first half of the season, but in the second half of the season, you strategically use them to start cutting down on the starters' minutes, getting them more experience so when you get in the playoffs, they're ready. I honestly think next year the Celtics are going to be fine. Unlike this season, the first 4 months, I was pulling my hair out. I'm sitting up here losing my hairline. My hairline's back here. I'm like, and then they flipped the switch. I think it's going to be the complete opposite. I think they're going to start the season off guns blazing because all you got to do is rinse and repeat what you did the second half of the year.
Yeah.
I think they'll be one of the top three. I think they will be one of the top 3 teams in the East off jump. First 2-3 months, it's going to be the Celtics, Miami Heat, and the Bucks. Don't know which order, but I think it's going to be that. But again, strengthen the bench now because you don't want to end up like the Cleveland Cavaliers. If people don't remember, I want to say all the way up into the last 2 months of the season, the Cleveland Cavaliers looked like they were going to take the Chicago Bulls spot. Everybody thought they were going to be a play. At one point, they was like the 3rd or the 4th seed in the East. They fell apart because of injuries. So I want the Boston Celtics to look at what happened to the Cleveland Cavaliers this season and prepare so next season they don't end up like them. That's my take.
Okay. Did you want me to respond?
Yeah.
I think that the Celtics, the best way to look at it, they need to look at it like this from this standpoint, especially with Al Horford. Phoenix thought the same thing that they was going back. They thought the same thing, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out. We all know Chris Paul got injured near the end of the season. That kind of really put a damper on their chances. So I think when you look at Boston, they're gonna have to get a guard. And they're going to have to get pieces that's going to have to complement that bench, complement the starting squad, to put on that bench, like you said. You just don't want to be like a lot of the teams. I'm pretty sure Milwaukee thought they was going back and Chris Middleton got hurt. I'm pretty sure Miami.
You see what I'm saying about injuries?
Yeah. So it's like what you say. It's like with Phoenix, the same thing. Chris Paul, that showed in the end. He came out there. He wasn't 100%, man. We all know that. So I think, the Lakers, they thought they was going to have a run. And then, AD, his injury prone. And it just, you have to be prepared. And it's like you said, they got to get ready because a lot of these teams are going to be gunning for them. Now, I think with the East, the thing that gives them the one up is that the East is, a lot of teams are a mess. And unless they start strengthening their structure, it's going to be Boston. Boston's going to breeze through because Boston's coming. I'm pretty sure with Tatum in them, so they got a taste of what it's like to be in the finals.
Exactly.
So that's going to push them right back in there. And they just can't. I agree with you. They can't go in there thinking like, yo, we can just do what we do. Right, we can do what we did, and we're good, and that's going to get us to the point. No, you got to have a insurance policy. That's the best words to use. An insurance policy. You basically got to get people in there that's going to be able to hold down the fort and make sure and complement the starters that when they come out, or and they should be all right. To get over the hump, they're going to have to find something that guard, that getting a point guard is their key. If they get a point guard that can let everybody else do what they do and be productive and effective, then they should be straight. I see them being back in the finals. Because, when you look at the East, if you're looking at the top teams, Milwaukee's good, but Milwaukee's going to have to keep their core. They had Giannis, but Middleton got hurt, and we all saw what happened once Middleton got hurt. Miami's talking the same thing. They're going to come back and finish it. But I know, what's his name?
There's a lot of issues with Miami.
Well, Tyler Hero's made it clear he wants to be starter. He ain't interested in no more 6-man. He has no interest in that.
You have the issue with paying Duncan Robinson $90 million to see him sit on the bench.
So my whole thing is, they have the ability. They just have to be prepared for them. They don't have to be prepared for anything else. I think everybody else in the East, I think they can handle. I know that's sounding brave, but I really honestly think that.
Yeah, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. There's multiple players they can pick up in free agency that's about to start. I'm hoping for a Kyle Kuzma or Kyle Kuzma-like player with a guard like a Tyus Jones while keeping the core intact. And if they do that in the offseason, I got them coming back to the finals.
Me too.